Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov Chess channel and welcome back to the US Chess Championship in 2022. So we're now already in the round 11 of this prestigious chess event and we're following now a beautiful game between Moke Niemann and Aleksandr Lenderman. So Moke Niemann started really good in this tournament, but then eventually he lost 3 games in a row. In the last round Niemann won his game, but in my opinion his chances are not so good. He's not supposed to be considered here as maybe a potential winner of the US Chess Championship, but he can improve maybe his rating. He can also improve maybe his rankings in this tournament. We'll see what will happen, but the Moke Niemann's of course games are quite interesting because of this recent drama that of course happened. But of course his playing style is really ambitious, sort of. He's trying always to spice up some games. So many of his games are ending with a loss by Niemann, but also maybe with a potential win. So he's not playing many draws. That I think is very good, of course, for the chess community. His games are really spectacular. So let's see now the game. Niemann against Aleksandr Lenderman. Here Hans opened with the move d4. We have d5 by Lenderman. We have c4, the queen's gambit, and now after move c6 we have now the Slav defense. Knight to f3, knight to f6, and now you have basically two choices. You can go into this quiet system that here Moke Niemann played, and you can also go into the 3 knights variation. But when you play the 3 knights variation, I'm a more fan of the 3 knights variation. Then you can risk maybe to go into this check systems with d takes c4. Then the games are really unbalanced. The pawn structure is unbalanced in the center. After move e3 here, white is saying, okay, if you want to capture my pawn, at least my bishop comes out with the tempo. So that's, I think, the main advantage of the quiet system. But of course the downside about the move e3, that you're a little bit blocking out your dark square bishop. So every move, it's sort of in the opening has its advantages, of course, and its disadvantages. That's why I'm more fan of this 3 knight system. Even if my opponent plays d takes c4, then the game could be still unbalanced, then the game can still be dynamic in the center. But okay, let's see now how Lenderman handled here Moke Niemann's quiet variation, e3. So we have here bishop to g4. We have now the so-called pin variation, and that's also sort of a line that bothered me many times when I played this quiet system. Then you cannot play knight to e5 in order to kick away the bishop. For instance, in this other system, when the knight comes on c3, if bishop to g4 happens, still you can play knight to e5. So as I said, it's really complicated to study this opening. So okay, after move e3, bishop to g4, knight to c3 by Niemann, we have e6, now locking simply this position in the center of the board. And of course the good part is that the bishop is outside of the pawn chain, so the bishop is out. Many times in the Slav defense we have some worries where to go with the light square bishop. So now after move e6, okay, many pawns are on light squares, but at least the bishop is out. So here Niemann plays a very aggressive approach, h3, kicking away the bishop. You can of course play bishop to f3, queen to f3 comes now with the tempo. Again, d takes c4, bishop to c4. This could be a pleasant game, I think, for white in such a potentially open game to have a bishop pair. But after move h3 here, Aleksandr Lenderman played here simply bishop to h5. We have g4, kicking away the bishop, and after bishop to g6 here, Niemann continues simply the pressure. He's simply attacking this light square bishop further. Although we have to say, because we played h3 g4, you kind of weakened a little bit also your position here on the king side. It's risky to play sometimes the game like this, but we have to also say Moke Niemann didn't castle on the king side here. If you would have castled and you advance the pawns too much in front of your own king, then it could be risky. Here so far white still has a certain flexibility to maybe get out of the range, maybe get the queen castling on the queen side. So it's still a flexible position, maybe not the most common way to play the game, but it's a really useful idea to at least get rid of this light square bishop. So we have here knight from b to d7, the knight gets challenged. We have knight takes g6, and now after move h takes g6, there are certain opportunities. If you play something like queen to c2, then you have to be careful. Knight to g4 could be black's tactical shot you couldn't take then, of course, because of the activity of the rook on the h file. So be careful about this h file attack. So that's why after move h takes g6 here, g5 was played by Moke Niemann. We have knight to e4, knight takes e4, d takes e4, and now h4, simply fixing now the pawn structure. And here Aleksandr Lenderman goes into this line. It's a common line, and it's a very often line played in top grandmaster level. I see here in the database, for instance, So versus David Navara, Dingler versus Ivan Šarić, Sergei Volkov against Koganov. So it's really an often played line. basically what black is hoping for is to go into an endgame and also to reach maybe a position like we see here already. Here we have to say white has a backward pawn. It's a structural weakness that of course black can attack in the near future, and when the game is simplified, then the bishop pair is not so important anymore. So that's why here after move bishop to b4, black is trying to get rid of the bishop pair, because you have to now bring the bishop in between. After queen to a5, we have here a3, bishop to d2, queen to d2, queen to d2, and king to d2. Okay, we have reached now this position where white has a bishop, black has now the knight on the board. But as I said, the main goal of blacks is maybe to continue the pressure here on the a file. But let's see now how Lenderman continued here. There are now many choices. He played, in my opinion, first of all the good move, f5. f5 is really necessary. You have to protect your pawn on e4. For instance, if you go c5, I've analyzed also this line. If you go c5, for instance, if you try to break of course white's powerful center of the board, then bishop to g2 is going to happen. And look at this, even if you try f5 now, okay, you take out with the knight, but look at the structure. All of these pawns are weaknesses, and all of these pawns are on light squares. That's, I think, also a main issue. All of these pawns can be attacked by the light square bishop. And now, of course, after move knight to f6, we just grab the pawn and we play b4, and we have here sort of a 4 versus 2 situation on the queen side. So this should be much better here for white. So that's why we have to be careful. So that's why f5 really necessary move by Lenderman, because if you take now, we don't have to take out with the knight, because still we have opportunities to fix the position with the move f5. So it's a different story now. It's a much better position for black. So after move f5 here, Niemann continues with the move c5, because as we said, c5 was also an opportunity. Now Hans is not allowing c5 by black, because this would be a liberating move for black. Now Hans is trying to play b4, a4, b5, continuing simply the pressure here on the queen side. Maybe even use the rook in order to support the b file attack. Here white is searching for an expansion on the queen side. So we have now king to e7, and this is not the problem to stay with the king in the center, because the position is not so complicated. The position is not so dynamic. The kings are not so endangered. So that's why you can play with the king like this. If maybe the queens would be still on the board, then you don't want to have your king like this. But now without the queens, without any complications, you can use of course your own king in order to attack the position further. So we have now b4 by Niemann. He's continuing the pressure, and now rook from a to d8 by Lenderman. He's trying maybe to search for opportunities, because the king is already here. The king can be endangered on the d file. But now let's see if, for instance, black goes with this plan. I asked myself at home the question, what would have happened if black would have continued maybe with his aggressive attack on the h file, because the only weakness that I see in white's position is this backward pawn on h4. So how would white proceed here? And actually going for the h4 pawn is not so clever here for black. Black could face many problems, because white continues simply the pressure here on the queen side. This wasn't played in the game, but I really wanted to show you how things can go wrong here for black. Because okay, you continue your plan, you continue here the pressure, but now we just continue our attack. It doesn't matter, you can maybe take out the pawn, but after rook to h4, too many pieces of blacks are deflected simply on the king side. Now look at this, white is already making some kind of a progress here. We just continue here with the move a5. If you don't react correctly, if you don't take out the pawn on b5, we can even try some ideas of here a6, simply breaking here. Maybe let's see, you try something like, I don't know, you try here rook to g4. You're trying maybe to attack the pawn immediately. Look at this, we just play a6, and now if you for instance take out this one, we take first this one, still we have this pawns rolling, and now we just advance the pawn on c7, and this could be a lost game. So this is really messed up already. So let's go back. After move a4 and rook takes h4 and a5, you have to take out the pawn. Now we play something like bishop to b5, and now after rook to g4, maybe you try to attack the position further. As we said, we just advanced the pawn here on a6. Now you can maybe we take out this one. This rook is coming into the game. There are certain possibilities here in the 7th rank. We have even this passer. So although black can actually even take out 2 pawns on the king side, but it doesn't matter. Black's attack is simply too slow. Meanwhile, white is doing, as I said, something. White's attack should be much faster, should be much more aggressive. So that's why rook from 8 to d8 was played by Lenderman. He didn't decide to attack this backward pawn on h4 immediately. Maybe he has to regroup first, and then eventually he can go for this plan. So in the continuation, we have now king to c3 by Hans Niemann. We have now e5. So we saw in the beginning of the game c5 was never a possibility for black. Now black is searching for the move e5 in order to break really this dynamic pawn structure that white is here in the center of the board. We have now bishop to c4, and now e takes d4. We have e takes d4 by Hans Niemann, and what he's trying to do now is even play maybe something like here d5 or maybe even b5. But here we have to say it, we have reached a position where white is having here a pawn majority attack. White is here a 4 versus 3 situation with the support of the bishop. This could be really good game here for Hans Niemann. So we have knight to f8. We have now f3. Really clever move here by Hans Niemann. He's trying now also to include, of course, the rook into the game. We have e takes f3, rook to f1. We have king to d7, and now rook to f3. So now Hans Niemann is playing with all of his pieces, and still he has his main goal. He wants to push the pawn on d5. So knight to e6. We have rook to e1 attacking now the knight. The knight has to move now here to c7, and still this h4 is weak, so that's why we have rook to h3 first by Hans Niemann, and now a rook to e8. And look at this. For instance, many of us would play move like rook knight to d5, but it seems like a good move because you're fixing the position in the center of the board. It's actually not working because white simply takes, and after c takes d5 we just advance. Here we can even try to take out the pawn. You have to now make a reaction, but even with rook to e6, look at this, the pawn on g6 is weak. We can then take out this one. You still lose the tempo. So as I said, it's really not working. If you maybe play something like king to b5, you could run into a checkmate even here with a4 and a5 and some more stuff. So black really needs to be careful here. So that's why, as we said, knight to d5 is not an opportunity. So after move rook to h3, that's why Lenderman tried rook to e8. We have a rook takes e8, king to e8, and now here Hans Niemann continues with this plan, a4 b5, using his pawn majority here on the queen side. So we have king to d7, b5, knight to e6. We have king to b4. Again, a clever move by Hans Niemann, because of course if you play here knight takes d4, rook to d3 is going to happen. You can maybe try here king to rook to h4, but now with king to c3 would simply grab the piece, and this should be then a completely winning game here for white. So this is not working. So after move king to b4, in the continuation we have here knight to f4 by Aleksandr Lenderman. Even if you try, let's see also this line, if you try knight to g5, this was also maybe an opportunity to grab the pawn, but still it's kind of risky because you get rook to g3. You have to now retreat with the knight, and then we take out this one. So you cannot protect basically everything. You can maybe take out this pawn, but look at this, rook to d6 again with simply the piece. So we can also try then afterwards to if you retreat with the knight somewhere, we can also take out this pawn. Then also this is weak. So the position is simply falling apart here for black. So you cannot take out the pawn on g5 either. So after move king to b4, here in the continuation we have knight to f4 by Aleksandr Lenderman. We have rook to h2 by Niemann, and king to c7. Now a5. You see here Hans is continuing with this plan. We have c takes b5. Here black really needs to release the pressure a little bit. We have bishop to b5. We have now a6. a6 again is very important, because if you don't play it, let's play just a bad move here for, then a6 white can play, and then after b takes a6, the point is that we could create here 2 connected pass pawns, and with the support of the bishop, with the support of the king, which is very close of course to the pawns, with the support of the rook, this is a devastating position. White is simply winning here for sure. So as I said, after move bishop to b5, you have to play a6. You have to stop white's attack here on the queen side. a6, bishop to a4, knight to e6, d5, kicking away the knight. We have knight to g5. Now we have the same tactic, and here d6 was played by Hans Niemann, and now comes the critical moment of this particular game. So maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black, pardon me. Where should black retreat? Should black retreat to d8, b8, or c8? So what's the best move? So okay, here Aleksandr Lenderman made a huge blunder. He played the move king to d8, and the problem is now that actually after king to d8, the problem is that you are vulnerable to these checks on the 8th rank. That's the main issue. What Lenderman should have played is to move king to c8. So now when the rook is coming on the on the b file and maybe it's trying to get on the 8th rank, there are no checks possible on the 8th rank. That's a huge difference. Usually this wouldn't be so important, but now in this game it has a huge importance. Look at this, after king to c8, okay, maybe white can play king to c3. Now black gets out of this mess, king to d5. Okay, still white has some opportunities with king to c4, king to d5, but this is defendable. Even if you try to advance the pawn, black has still a good control on d8 and also on c7 with this powerful knight. But what Lenderman did, he tried king to d8, but now Hans plays the beautiful move c6, and you see now still the knight is hanging. That's now the main issue. For instance, after b takes c6, we have king to c5. Now there is a threat. Look at this. If you play something like I don't know, let's see, knight to e4, then we play king to c6, and you see we have still the opportunities to play rook to b2 and also rook to b8 because the rook is hanging. So this is not working. For instance, if you try something like knight to f3 here in this position, then still we can play rook to b2. Again, we're threatening the same thing. If you try king to c6 now, then we just take. You have to again retreat with your knight. Now we play rook to b7. You can maybe try also to take out the pawn on h4, but now look at this with d7. You have to now give up your knight. If you go here, then we just play check, and then we can advance the pawn to queen, and this should be game over. So see how complicated it is when you don't play the move king to c8. Now after move king to c5, f4 was played by Lenderman, but now we see this idea rook to b2 with the threat of rook to b8, and still the knight is hanging. These are two tactical problems here. Knight to e6 was played. We have now king to c6, but now we have also a checkmate threat because the pawn is taking over here on e7. So here in the continuation we have now a new check by Lenderman. King to d5, the knight is hanging. We have a knight to b5. Good choice here by Lenderman to at least somehow try to cement the position on the b file, but after a takes b5, we have king to c6. Again, a good move here by Hans Niemann, because if you try now, of course, rook to h4, we'll again play here rook takes b5, and no checks are possible. You cannot get the rook behind, and now still we're threatening checkmate. So this is game over. So after move king to c6, we have here king to e8 by Aleksandr Lenderman. He's trying to now get out of this mess, but we have now king to c7, king to f7, and after move d7. In this position, black resigned. There's no further protection. We can play simply d8 the promotion. Black has to give up the rook. We can always catch up with the rook, both of these pawns, if they're getting advanced, but still we have a passer of our own here on the a file, and this should be a winning endgame here for white for sure. So great game by Hans Niemann, but we saw Lenderman also defended in a good way. Eventually played this huge blunder which cost him the game. He could have held the position, although we have to say Hans Niemann played also a good game, but eventually this was it. Really feel a little bit sorry for Lenderman because he played really solid game here, but eventually lost it, as I said. Now Hans Niemann has 2 consecutive wins. Still, he's too many points behind Caruana. I think after this round, he's now 2 points behind Fabiano, and I don't think that he cannot catch up. Maybe he can win several more games, but Fabiano will also, I think, get some points. So there's no way that Hans Niemann wins this US Chess Championship, but as I said, maybe he can get some rating points or maybe improve his current rankings of the US Chess Championship in 2022. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it really a lot because here Hans Niemann played with really great accuracy. He had around 96% of really great moves, so it was really wild how he played the game, getting a wild position out of this quite Slav defense. If you want to see more of these beautiful commented chess games like this, check out my commented chess game series. Here's the link of our whole playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.